What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube Barber Academy. I'm Mr. Eddie Barber, and today we got a little barberology for you guys. We're gonna be using the Gamma Ergo, and I'm still getting to know this clipper. I'm still getting to like this clipper, and this is right about the time when I started to fall in love with it. When I started to realize it's really a good clipper, and it's really a competitor. So we're actually going to do a fade that's very similar to the fade that I wear, and I'll show you guys how simple you guys can execute this and how quickly you can do it. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, this client came in with the length that you see. I didn't pre-cut it or anything like that, and we're going to go through with the 5-0. And for those of you guys who don't use a 5-0 or you don't use a detachable, it's costing you money, man. If you're a barber, it's costing you money. But if you have to, you can just use your trimmer. So I got an absolute hitter here from Gamma, and I would just use my trimmer and rock and roll through it. But we need to make sure that however you're going to put the line, whether this is going to be like a fade that's sort of on the high side, it's not super high, but it's going to be on the high side of mid. And if you guys wanted to talk about that a few times, I would just show you that if you use your client's ear as kind of like your, that's a very small ear, but if you use your client's ear as sort of like a barometer here, if it was right at the very top of his ear and you traveled around the back side of his head without dropping it, that would be sort of a lower fade. A really low fade would be dropping it in the back. That would be another low fade or a drop fade. Or if I did it right on the parietal ridge, that's going to turn into a fairly high fade, or anything above that is going to be an extremely high fade, bordering on a military cut. So depending on how high you want to make it, just make sure that you're giving yourself enough room to do the blending. And I know that sometimes clients can come in and they can request that you cut it really high. A lot of times with those clients, I've found that you can explain to them, hey, if you give me a little bit more room to blend it, I can give you a better looking haircut, and most of them are going to go for that. Everybody wants a good haircut, right? So we're coming through with our electric shavers, which I actually have somewhere. And anyways, I'll just use something else. But as I get close to that line, I'm sort of just flicking out and away, and I'm blending out that little section. So it's really simple if you do it this way, because the 5-0 or the trimmer, so I'll just put a T, and the skin, the gap between these two is so small. It's so small, which means that just the tiniest bit of wrist flip is going to get rid of it. It really is. So we're going to do another half attack here. So clipper in the closed position, so we got the open, and now we got the closed position. We're going to put the half guard on, and of course this clipper's got the clicks. I've talked about it before, and we're just going to go in and we're going to put a line. So here's our trimmer line that we already put, and we're going to put another guideline. Now the nice thing about working in between parameters is we know that A, the blend is coming from the same length all across the board, and B, it is returning to the same length all across the board, which is why it's nice to put this other guideline in. And in this video, I believe I filmed it in the way that I actually work. I actually was just spinning him and showing you guys like the actual steps that I take. A question that I get all the time is, hey, do you do one side of the head and then the other? The answer to that is only when I'm filming with a camera that I know I can't move. But if I know I can move a little bit, I'm going to just go ahead and do it the entire way around the head. So in this next step, I decided to work towards this top line. I decided to leave this line alone, and I went with a 1 open. So we'll say 1 open, okay? And then with the 1 on in the open position, I came all the way up. Now I know the top of this client's haircut was at about a 1.5, so it's all good. It's all good. That 1 open was able to remove any of that hair in the parietal ridge. I can click it down, click it down, click it down, until all I have left will be this trimmer line, and everything up here looks pretty smooth. There's no additional problems, and my skin to my trimmer line is looking good. So you guys can kind of just see what I'm dealing with. So again, going around with that 1 in the open position, I'm knocking out that area above the parietal ridge. Quick note on the back of most people's haircuts, that's when you're going to see some wild stuff go on. All right, hair is going to swoop one way, swoop the other, possibly have a colic high, have a colic low. Do your best to go against the grain and use the best barber tool you got, which is your eyes. And your eyes are going to tell you when it's A, time to call it quits, or B, time to keep working. So that's something you'll develop over experience, but you definitely need to develop it. So again, on this other side, I'm only really using the pencil grip in this case because the camera, I don't want to sit in the way of the camera. But if I wasn't using it, a lot of times I will use the pencil grip, but if I wasn't using it, you could also use the handshake grip. I just find it a little bit easier. Make sure that you're using a grip that's comfortable to you, especially in this haircut. It's not going to matter as much. This is a very, very basic fade, and you know, this would be a good one for you guys to practice if you're new or if you're just getting started. You want to build some confidence. This is definitely one of those haircuts where you could build some confidence and you know, start to feel like you're figuring things out. So now, once we're done, we're going to actually return to the half. So we've worked with our 1 and we worked with our trimmer. Now in between trimmer, we have a closed taper, open taper, 0.5, close, 0.5, open. That is the ugliest 5 I've ever drawn. All right, 0.5 open. So where I'm at now is I want to further make sure that this blend between the 1 and the 1 and so that's all smooth. So I'm going from 1.5 to 1, 1 open, 1 closed, and now there's a little bit of residual in there, right? A little bit of residual. So I went back with the half open and the half closed. So this is the progression that we're using. 1 balances on the next, and finally, I saved the best for last because I was enjoying myself during this fade. It doesn't take too long to do, and I wanted to attack that skin line the whole time, but those top lengths were messing with me, and I just wanted to knock them out real quick because I knew it would only be a second. And now is when the fun begins. I can safely take this guard off, rock and roll over top of this, okay? And we want to do that to a reasonable height, maybe an inch, and begin closing it 1 click at a time. While I'm simultaneously running over that line, I'm closing it, and each time that I close it, I'm going to stay a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. So, for instance, top click, I'm here. Next click, I'm here. Next click, I'm here. 1 more click, I'm there. And that's the last click, and we are going to actually get that skin line out super, super easy using that technique. Now, if your machines aren't set up properly, or even sometimes when your machines are set up properly, you still could run into some trouble between your trimmer and your closed taper. Okay, so these two, they need to be pretty close in length to each other. So if this one's set really, really tight and this one's set really, really tight, you're gonna have some overlap and you're gonna be able to get it out. But a lot of times, if you're working with a clipper that's set up properly, it can get close enough. And I found with the Gamma Ergo, if you have it zero gap properly, this top blade is so thin. It's so thin. It's a lot like that caliber top blade, and it just puts in work. And I haven't had any snag, any pull, or anything. And you know, the other thing that's kind of weird about this is I did 17 haircuts without charging this. Now, it might not seem as miraculous when you understand the way I work is I use my detachable an awful lot, but when I'm blending, I use this. So I in fact did blend out like 17 skin lines with this without it losing battery. Now I am a fast and experienced barber, but I gotta say, they advertise 100 minutes of battery life, and I think they're actually saying a little bit less than what it actually truly is capable of. So we're working that same process, that open to close process, knocking out that bottom line, and finishing off this blend. And we're just about there. Where the hell was I? And we're just about there on this haircut here. So if you're done, if you've exhausted your open and your closed, and you've gotten it all perfect and you're good to go, the next thing you wanna make sure you do, if you have to, is return back to your trimmer. Just tap out any little lines or any little weight sections that you might see, and try to give yourself the smoothest and easiest blend possible. So once again, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me, for coming over here. Invite you to join the lives. If you have any questions or if you're struggling with anything, please feel free to join us on the lives. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And definitely, if you're new to this or you're just getting started, try to find a client who either shaves their head or maybe has no hair, just to try to practice on, get your reps in, and build some confidence. Because once you feel like you got the confidence, you're going to feel like you're going to be able to take over the world, and you're going to feel like you're not going to feel defeated. So the last thing you want to do is go into a haircut that's so challenging that you feel defeated. Let this be your proving ground. Let this be the area where you start to build some confidence. Okay, this is the YouTube Barber Academy. I am Mr. Eddie Barber. Leave some comments down below if you want, and other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Wait a minute, before you guys go, I want to invite you to hit that bell, hit subscribe, and stick around because we're going to go live all the time. It's far more interactive, it's a lot more intuitive, you'll learn a lot more, and we'll go through this video and many others as we continue to grow. We build off each lesson from the last week, so don't miss out on that opportunity. It's free, it's fun, and we're going to have a good time and a lot of guests, and we do giveaways. So I encourage you guys, hit subscribe. Other than that, man, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Peace.